Hi, Dan McGowan here. If you know me and you know my comedy, you know that I work clean. That's just the way that I've always worked. I work as a clean comedian. And there's several reasons for that. One of the reasons is just my upbringing. I was used to watching comedy that, for the most part, was clean on television. Censors wouldn't allow the comedians on the days of 1950s and 60s television to, go over the edge and do anything blue on TV. They did in clubs, but not on TV. And so because I grew up with that kind of influence, I just took it upon myself to do the same thing. And I try to write and perform comedy that today we call clean comedy. But I want to focus on something. There's a question that I'm asked often, which is, how do you work as a clean comedian? How do you write clean comedy? And I guess the easiest answer to that is just don't include vulgarity and cussing and all those elements. But here's what I want to focus on. Asking the question, how do you write clean comedy, is the wrong question to ask. Regardless of any kind of comedy you want to do, whether it's clean, whether it's, vulgar, whatever it is, the right question to ask is, how do you write funny comedy? I think there's a misconception out there that if you simply add vulgarity to your comedy routines, that will bring laughter. And a lot of times it does, because, people are laughing at something that's uncomfortable, something that's kind of taboo. They're laughing at things they can't laugh at in their places of business. They come into a comedy club and some comic, yells out something profane, and everybody laughs as if it's the funniest thing they've ever heard. And really, it's not much different than what you heard when you were, in junior high school with your buddies behind the gym. But I think for comedy to become lasting, something that people want to come back and see over and over and over again, which is what you want, our comedy that we write needs to be funny. So how do you write funny comedy? How do you do that? I'll just tell you a couple of ways I do that. First, I try to think in general terms. What do most people deal with in life? That could be relationship issues, or, medical issues, or getting older, or your kids, or your job. Basic issues that we all deal with. I try to land on something like that. And then I usually try to find a twist that I can put into that. Because I have found over the years that audiences love a funny twist. Something that's unexpected. In my opinion, I think it's almost very expected to hear somebody blurt out a cuss word. What's unexpected is when the comedian is taking you down a path with a joke, and suddenly there's a turn. And that turn is a twist. Maybe it's a different word or phrase or a different way of looking at it. That's what makes people laugh. And that twist can be clean or raunchy. It doesn't really matter, as long as it's authentic. If you're a comedian, you know that in its most basic form, a joke is two parts. It's a setup and a punchline. That setup and punchline can, be 10 seconds long. It can be a minute long. It doesn't really matter, as long as you have a clear setup that is clearly defined and communicated, and then some kind of a punchline. If you don't have a punchline to your setup, all you have is a TED Talk. If you are a comedian, I encourage you to write every day and always come up with more than one funny punchline for your great setup. You might end up with 4 or 5 or 6 different punchline options. Find the funniest one and stick with that. And then perform it and see what audiences say. They'll let you know if your joke is funny or not. Trust them. So remember, the question is not, how do you write clean comedy, or how do you write dirty comedy? It's, how do you write funny comedy? Focus on that, and you will improve as a comedian. I'm Dan McGowan. Find out more about me at danmcgowan.com.